The convergence of our voices is the song of our beauty. Many voices will speak here, the song woven through diverse notes. Hello, everyone, and welcome. And I would like, first of all, Zainab, to pronounce your name.
Zainab Amadahy is my name.
Ah, very good. Zainab Amadahy.
Amadahy, right? Yeah.
Amarki. Okay, I suppose that's close enough.
Yeah.
And could you describe yourself?
Sure. Well, I am a senior, a writer, semi retired, and I say that because what that means is I can't afford to retire, but completely. But yeah, so yeah, and I also sing with an Indigenous women's hand drumming group. I live in a place called Nokojiwanong. And my place is there's a river running through my backyard called Odanabe River. The colonial name for where I live is called Peterborough, Ontario, in Canada. And let's see, my background is African American, Cherokee, Seminole, Amish, and Portuguese. So, and also because I did my the ancestry thing, ancestor.ca. I have some other trace elements of other things in there, but I don't have the stories for them. So
Yeah.
I can just mention them, but mention that they're there, but I really don't know anything about those backgrounds.
Mhm.
So yeah, I feel like I'm a true child of Turtle Island, North America.
Yes.
And yeah, so that's who I am. Oh, and my background is in community work. When I was working, I mostly did community work in all kinds of like service organizations. And as well, I worked in community arts. So yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And some of your writings have been about sustainable communities, which is something I'm really interested in. Um, what's your vision of sustainable community?
Well, I think it's first good to kind of contrast what sustainability is with what we have now.
Mhm.
And of course, we're living in a society where somehow economics and ecology are kind of separate ideas or have been separated from each other. And our economy runs on the idea of resource exploitation, right?
Mhm.
And destroying the ecology. And I think that sustainability is about um, that centering the earth, centering what the earth needs in your particular bioregion, and allowing that to define all other human activities that take place in that region. And your economy should be compatible with, the sustainability of your eco region. You shouldn't be taking more from the earth than she can replenish. And we've been doing that for a very long time. And we've done it to the point now where we can expect basically cascade effects around economic and ecological collapse coming up very soon.
Yes,
So
if not
yeah,
already here.
we're in the middle of it, in my opinion,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah, and we can see the political and institutional polarization, the crash of various institutions, and frankly, the crash of Western civilization is imminent, and I hope, anyways.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's been a very, it's a system of white supremacy and a system of colonization and war and death and all these horrible things. And we have an opportunity, even though there will be a lot asked of us in this cascading collapse. I think we still have an opportunity to kind of rethink things and remodel things, and again look to the ecoregions in which we live to guide us around how to live well and sustainably, to heal some of the traumas that are at the root of so many conflicts that we see in the world at the individual level, at the international level, and so on.
Mhm.
So I prefer to see this as an opportunity to build on. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And part of that involves decolonization, which you have also written about. So, what have you to say about how we go about that?
Right. Well, I think there's definitely internal and external decolonization to be going on. So I feel like, there are a couple of concepts that overlap, but I think are important to distinguish between, and that is decolonization and indigenization. And I feel that indigenization is something that anyone can do. Um, Anyone can be indigenous to the land in the sense that they're living sustainably off of it, that they belong to the land rather than think they own the land, right? And so they're living in a way that is directed, that is guided by the earth and what she can sustain. So there's indigenization, which is a process that is essential for us to get our heads around. So decolonization and indigenization are both internal and external activities. You have to wrap your mind around the idea that, as I say, you're not superior to the earth, you're not superior to our other relatives on the earth, so that other plants and animals and all of this. So we are related to them, but we are the dependent species. We are the ones that can't survive without them. So we have to wrap our brains around that and have some honor and respect and humility when we're walking this planet. And then there's the issue of decolonization, which is to me, it doesn't go as far as indigenization, but the idea of questioning this relationship between ecology and economy, questioning um, our ideas of hierarchy, how decisions get made in our lives, whether in our families or, in our governments or in the world, um, and rethinking all of these ideas about what we've normalized, which is very toxic. I mean, transphobia, for example, and all of these, I mean, even like the idea of our family units being this nuclear family of, this heterosexual couple and people, like how we educate ourselves, how we educate our children, like just everything about how we live and kind of rethink all that. And again, align it with, I would consider, with what, and I mean, we have to talk about this as communities, but to realign it with true equity, and not just among humans, but to also question human supremacy, our ideas about human supremacy in the world. Because again, we might, really get off, we have big egos as human beings, and we think we're the best thing that ever, walked the planet, and we're smart and we know better, and clearly we do not. We are the only species that will, overuse, the resources of its region. I mean, when other species, notice that things aren't sustainable for them, usually because of our activity, like they're smart enough to move on and do things differently, and we're not. So we are not superior, and we need to again, come to some humility about that and our place in the world. We belong to the planet. She does not belong to us.
Mm.
My thoughts.
Yes, and the planet, I think, is doing some things now to remind us of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and I feel that I mean, in terms of my own guidance and my own relationship to the earth and to my spirit guides and all of that, I don't feel like the earth is trying to harm anybody. I don't feel there's like anger there or anything like that. But she's just, trying to heal herself from the damage that we've done to her. And, if we don't want to get caught up in that, we need to step back and, yeah. we need to step back and start doing what we can to make it easier for her to heal herself.
Mhm. And you have a new work that's out there, which involves Rumi. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So the latest publication and the broadest publication that I've just, well, I mean, and at the moment, so I have publications that are on different websites and things like this, but this is a publication that was put out by a Canadian publishing house, Guernica, and it's an anthology. And the purpose of the anthology was to look at Rumi's writings and think about how they apply to what's going on in the world today, our lives today, our relationships today. So it's not really something about Rumi. It's not a book about Rumi. It's not a book about Rumi's writings even. It's about the implications and the applications of Rumi's writing for today. So I was one of, I don't know how many authors, maybe 10 or 12 authors that contributed to the anthology. And the launches are in progress across Canada. And there's one coming up where I live in Nogajiwanong next month. Not all the authors, of course, are a part of all the launches, but just had one in Toronto, one coming up for me. So yeah. Yeah. So that's my latest project.
Yeah. And what drew you to Rumi in particular?
It's really interesting because what draws me to Rumi, I've never ever picked up a book, a translation of Rumi's writings into English, because I can't read the original Persian that it's written in. But my only familiarity with Rumi comes from like social media and this type of thing, email signatures where people will quote him. And come to learn after I was invited to participate in this anthology, the editor, who is Iranian and speaks Persian and has translated Rumi's work, told me that most of the English translations of his work are not particularly accurate and also have a tendency to kind of disappear the fact that he was Sufi, that he was Muslim,
Mhm.
and that Sufism and Islam informed a lot of his writings. And that doesn't always come through in English translations.
Mhm.
So I loved the translations of what I had read of Rumi, but as I was writing my essay for this anthology, learned, oh, he didn't actually write that. He wrote something similar to
Oh.
it. The spirit, is
Mm.
there. So my favorite quote, I think, was something along the lines, we've probably all seen a version of it, but the wound is where the light enters. And that's kind of what I was writing about because I was writing about that relationship between trauma and conflict, especially lateral violence
Mhm.
in our communities. Um, and anyway, so I'm using as well anti-oppression teachings, anti-oppression um, theory as like weaponizing it and using it in a way because we are traumatized, we end up using it in a way that it was never meant to be used. And I'll leave that, I'll leave you in suspense around that. But basically, he didn't write that quote about like it doesn't translate exactly in that way. And so Gita Hashimi, who's the editor of the book, did find quotes that basically say more or less that. And so the essay that I had written around this quote stands, but yeah. And so it's funny how it worked out that way.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds really interesting. And what's the name of the anthology?
It's called Rumi Roaming, and it's got a lot of other words after that, but I can't I can't remember the whole title. It's got a subtitle there, but it is Rumi Roaming. I mean, if you do a search on that, there's, that book will come up for sure.
Okay, yeah, that sounds really something that we should be reading, I think.
I think there's a lot of the contributors are from all over, all over the world, basically. They come from various ethnicities and speak various languages and come from various places around the world. And there's artistic work as well in the book. So it wasn't just writers that contributed to this anthology. There were also visual artists. And so, yeah, it's a really deep, thoughtful, beautiful anthology. I highly recommend it.
Yes. So one of your activities is reading oracles. Could you tell me about your oracles, how you do the readings?
Yeah. So I work primarily with a set of oracle cards that are, I think they're called Native American oracle cards. I meant to bring the deck down for this interview, but it's over there. I might grab it. But it's a deck that was designed and written by Denise Lynn, who's a Cherokee knowledge keeper. And the cards work with indigenous, like pan-indigenous, North American pan-indigenous symbols. And I guess it's similar to tarot cards, except that I'm not particularly familiar with the symbols of tarot. Cards have to some extent, a mysterious history, like where they came from, which culture authored them, and I think it's probably a variety of different cultures that like created those cards as we know them today. But the idea is much the same, that these oracle cards, when you work with them, offer wisdom, offer perhaps context to some questions or ideas that you might have, that you would be turning to the cards to look for some answers or to help you make a decision or whatever it is you're doing. And so those cards were really easy for me to pick up and use because, as I say, they contain indigenous symbols, which I am familiar with and that are part of my life. And so, and my work, it's very interesting in terms of my relationship to those cards because when I got them, I kind of looked at it as like a fun party game, type of thing, right? But those cards have played a huge role in my ability to tap into my intuition, tap into, the guidance, spiritual guidance that I have access to, my higher self, and the other entities that I believe, are around me, my ancestors, and all of that who guide me. It enables me to, when I'm reading the cards for another person, tap into their guidance as well, tap into their helpers and their guides and what those folks are saying. And the more I do it, it seems to hone my intuition. I can do it much faster now than I did when I first started. And it's a great way. Actually, it's such a wonderful way. Like I don't do it for money or anything like that. I will do it for like fundraising events or for gatherings in the community or something like this. I can do that, but I don't do it for money. And so it's really quite amazing for me how much it helps me connect to people
Mhm.
um, and to make friends and to strengthen, my connection to communities of people as well, So that's how I use them. And I'm sure there are people that have their cynicism about that, but I do feel like cards are just one of many ways that people can. There's all kinds of tools out there that can help you with your own, making your own connection to your own intuition, your own guidance, um, and helping you as well with connecting to other people.
Yeah.
There's a variety of tools out there that we know and we use, but crystals and medicines, plant medicines and all kinds of tools out there. This was just something, not the only thing I responded to, but something that came really easy to me and that I really
Yeah.
responded to. So I kind of think of it more as like a key that kind of opens a door
Mhm.
symbolically
Mm.
rather than something that's essential
Yes.
to to what they do for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And before we close, is there anything else you would like to talk about?
Nothing in particular about me, but I just wanted to thank you very much for this opportunity, to talk about myself and my work. And I just really appreciate what you're doing, and I hope to see more of it. I kind of recently discovered who you are, and I'm looking forward to exploring some of those videos that you have on your channel, your YouTube channel. So thank you so much.
And thank you, Zainab. It's been really fun to talk to you.
Awesome.
Thank you to my guest, and thank you also to you, my viewers. Thank you for being witness to the stories of these wonderful women, the artists, activists, thinkers, visionaries. Please like and subscribe to Crone Chronicles. See you next time.